In the United States, something unusual happened in 2020. As the demand for oil dropped due to the pandemic, oil that couldn't be sold began to fill up storage tanks. In fact, there was so much extra oil that producers even paid buyers to take it off their hands. But then, someone had an interesting idea. Why not just put the oil back into the ground? Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy the video. Now, the world's major powers have long had strategic oil reserves stored in secure underground caverns. For example, in the US, about 700 million barrels of oil are stored in 60 underground caves carved out of rock. Other countries like Japan, China, and India have also built similar facilities, investing billions to ensure they have emergency oil supplies. For instance, Japan has huge tanks that can store millions of barrels, while Britain has above-ground tanks for storage. These oil reserves are important because they act like a safety net, ensuring that countries have enough oil in case of a crisis. In fact, European Union member countries must keep enough oil reserves to last at least 90 days in case of an emergency. The US uses about 19.8 million barrels of oil per day, so if they had to rely only on their reserves, it would last about a month. Even though they can pump out around 4.4 million barrels a day, it would take about 160 days to fully empty the reserve. Globally, there are around 4.1 billion barrels of oil stored by countries working with the International Energy Agency. This would last a little over a month if oil production stopped completely, but we don't need to worry. There's enough oil on Earth to last for decades. So why did countries like the US start building these reserves? The answer lies in the 1973 oil crisis, when oil prices skyrocketed after Arab oil exporters cut off supplies to the West. This caused fuel shortages, leading the U.S. to create its Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which has been used in emergencies like the Gulf War, Hurricane Katrina, and during disruptions in Libya. The U.S. stores its oil reserves in salt domes, which are large underground formations of salt that are perfect for storing oil because they don't leak. However, these storage systems aren't always perfect. There have been incidents where gas leaks or explosions have caused damage, like in Texas, where the oil storage system impacted nearby communities. In 2020, when oil storage filled up, companies were even allowed to store oil in unusual places temporarily, but this came with risks. Storing oil outside of salt caves can contaminate water sources, and environmentalists have raised concerns, especially in areas like Texas, where groundwater supplies are critical. Interestingly, other countries are also working on improving their storage systems. For example, Australia is investing in oil storage in the US, while places like India are building new facilities to store both oil and liquefied petroleum gas (LPG).